Now here's a song I wrote at the Reliance Hotel. No longer exists. It's now, well, it became HJ's Hotel and became the Dockside. And now it's a little block of apartments right at the corner of 13th Street and Main. Once upon a time, it was the Reliance Hotel. It was owned by Jenny Curley, the surviving member of a married pair. And Jenny's daughter, she had two daughters, Joanne and Sandy. And Sandy and her husband, Bill, helped Jenny run the hotel. And the hotel was a very interesting institution in Americana, one that may not come again, and I'd be sad for it. There were several lifelong residents, and they were, in the main, chronic alcoholics. Didn't make them bad people, it's just one of the ways of the world. We seek serotonin and endorphin reuptake blocking. So, and that's what these things provide for us. But for the certain guys, Jimmy Reese, Henry the Baker, a couple of the other guys, they were pretty far gone in alcoholic dementia. And like I said, didn't make them bad people. It's just a sign of the times. Many people lost their minds that way. Still do. And other recreational or chronic habitual drugs. So these guys would get a check, pension check, Social Security check, and Jenny would take that check, they'd sign it over to her, and she would give them each, when they showed up in the morning, right, she'd give them each a shot of the good stuff, Bankers Club, and then the next shot was watered down to about 40%. The next shot was watered down to about 30%. The next shot was watered down to about 10%. So these guys were drinking a fraction of what they had been drinking when they were young and dumb and full of options. So then during the day, she would cook in the back, and she'd bring out soup and stew and sandwiches and for these guys. And so a symbiosis took place, whereby these gentlemen that would be happy to drink themselves to death and wind up outside, in the street and freeze to death, and became functioning members of a little community. The focus of which, of course, was HJ's Hotel. The Reliance Hotel was called. Now, Bill and Sandy, that's Jenny's daughter, younger daughter, and her husband, were nice to stray cats, nice to stray dogs, and nice to stray people. So they were nice to me. And that was a very nice thing for me, because it gave me a place to be. They didn't charge me rent. If I paid them some, they were happy. But they would let me live there. And I would pay what money I made when I made money, but Friday and Saturday night I'd play piano. And they would pay me for it and not want any of that money back as rent. So I was getting room and board, a little bit of money to spend, and free food. I don't think music gets much better than that. You guys may have a different feeling. But I knew all the regulars, and I knew all the people that came in on the weekends, and I knew all the disc jockeys, and I knew the other bands, and I knew It was a musical community of sorts. It's not the musical community of the Starlight Lounge, which I happily advertise anytime I can. But it was a musical community, an artistic community, a community of people that were all gathered for a single purpose, which was to get drunk, or at least pass time in getting drunk, and wash away some of the grime of the day from themselves before they went home, or that was their home. That's better than fame and fortune. That's better than a recording contract with a large, or at least a respectable and honest, if that's possible, music publisher. It's so rare in the universe that you walk into a place and they say, like, there's a guy that needs a home here. And they give you a home and wait, and you sing for your supper. And they're like, thank you. Imagine. And I wanted to be a star. This is just a small town thing. I want to move out. I'm going to be a big star someday. Here I am in 2 rooms and a bath. Big star. However, because of this experience from the Reliance Hotel of 1978, 1980, 1985, probably before I finally moved out of it for good, when it was HJ's. And Harry Letters was also very good to me. Kudos to Harry Letters as well. Kudos to Bill and Sandy. Kudos to Jenny, who was foully and cruelly murdered for no good reason. There was always something in the refrigerator. There was always a free Pepsi. There was always somebody that was like, it's Bill. You know, instead of saying, like, please stop that. Big deal for musical people. So eventually, through many, 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 many experiences, mostly musical, but also social and, psychological, a leavening process, so to speak, I come to the Starlight through circuitous passage, and it's different. I started by going to the Wednesday night open mic when it was at Moondogs, so I have both performed with Marty at Moondogs, classic venue, but also I played there 40 or 50 times on Wednesdays as part of the open mic group. All right. Then they moved that to the Starlight. And I performed a total of both places well over 250 times. That's nice. That's almost like being a regular, you know? I mean, Norm Nardini's probably played nearly that many times too there, maybe more. But he's a star. I'm Wild Bill. I'm Wild Bill, you know. My whole bit is that, sure, I'm a star in my head. I don't expect anybody else to think that. Wait, unless I'm that good. And in that case, you don't have to tell me. It probably won't help. But if you tell other people, and people start listening to my music, and maybe somebody plays one of my songs or sings one of my songs back to me, or maybe it's a thing. That's musical immortality. As far as musical paradise goes, the Reliance Hotel was a version of that. I was friends with all the guys, except Pat O'Shea. And, you know, in spite of my rough edges, got along with just about everybody. So by the time I got to the Starlight, and that was 40 years down the road, I was ready for the seeds that it planted in people that were just there to have a good time. Some of them were polishing their star. Some of them just wanted to see what it was like to act like a star, to be on stage, have people look at you and say, oh, you could do something. Some people living out a dream. Some of those are my friends. I think it's cool as hell. Some people with serious frontline talent, and those people know that I think that. The ability to tell people freely what I thought of them as artists. The ability for me to contribute in a non-aggressive, non-competitive way to a musical sociality, an artistic sociality, a member of an artist community. Dog, I'm surrounded by artists at the Starlight. Some of them work there. Talking to Jennifer last night, she said nice things. Jennifer's a kind, good-hearted, helpful person. So when she says nice things, I take it as badges of honor that she deigns to say nice things about me. But I also know that she's a good person. So she may be a little nicer to me than I deserve. But with the idea that she says nice things to me comes the caveat that she has perhaps seen as many acts perform, including major acts, as anybody alive. And that her opinion counts for something. Literally. Nobody's better than anybody else, but some people have more experience. And those people are the ones I go to when I want good information, when I want to hear wisdom, whether I'm ready to accept it or not. And this is the deal. Jennifer says nice things about me, and she knows that I won't take it wrong. And she's heard thousands of acts. Thousands. She's at the center of a big hub for musical acts of every sort. And she sees them all. And they come in for dinner. And they talk to her at the bar because they're lonely. Nothing like being a lonely artist. And she says nice things. And it's not just me. She says nice things about several of the performers we got. That's a person that would know, sees that in us. That's pretty darn cool. And then we move on to Ronnie. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but he has shown us signs of favor because what he sees in us is a little different than what he sees everywhere else in his intensely musical life. Because where he is, everybody needs a job. Everybody would like that job to pay an awful lot. And everyone wants to test the temptation of the world's best drugs, the trashing of hotel rooms, the leaving of a trail of lovers broken and crushed in his wake. And resist them, of course. And in that world, I don't exist. I really don't. I don't exist. Some of those guys would get what I'm doing. They'd grok me, so to speak. But they would think that I have squandered my talent rather than using it as a moneymaker. I can't argue with them. I can only say that this is what I do. And what I have done is found another musical heaven. Oh my gosh, I'm in artist heaven again. In the Reliance Hotel 40 years ago, for a moment, I'd come out of that competitive world that I'm no good at, and had found a little home in the midst of nice people who were willing to accept me for who I was, and to give me the time to develop myself as an artist. That's hard to find. And it's really hard to find from people that don't want anything else out of you. Imagine how nice that is. And then 40 years, and now I'm in another spot like that. And I'm a little better prepared to enjoy it, and a little better prepared perhaps to contribute to it in a meaningful way, so that I am indeed a member of an artistic community, a contributing member of my intellectual community, a person of substance in a world where I as a person have no substance, a ghost telling stories of the old days, conjured up to give wisdom nobody really wants, because who needs it? But still, wow, meaning. God. One of the things that lost souls need the most is validity. They want to feel that their existence was valid. They want to feel like they had some point in existing, that they weren't just a mindless cipher, a smudge on the printer. The starlight has given me that. External validation. Talk to psychiatrists. They'll say, don't seek it. It's bad for you. Because you'll look for it, it won't be there, and you'll be crushed. That's not how they'll put it, but that is the essence of the seeking of external validation. I have done it my whole life long, and said that I wasn't doing it the whole time, because I don't want to do it, but I'm forced to produce artworks. And I like it when other people see those artworks. I hope they get attention. I hope they make people think, oh, Bill does something. He's not just that guy that talks all the time and never shuts up. though he's also that guy. I'm in artistic heaven again. And a lot of these guys don't know me. They don't know my past. I don't want them to know my past. They can guess my future because I'm old. But for this moment, I feel significant. I feel useful. I feel like I'm part of something that's worth being part of. And I don't get much of that in my life, for whatever reason. Most of it's internal, wounds in my soul. It's nobody's fault. But golly, what a nice feeling to be in musical heaven. It's about time for me, because I was starting to think it was never going to happen. Wild Bill. I was going to play a song. I didn't play a song. Ah. So that was Wild Bill on Musical Heaven.